What's up, guys? I'm Dreso. This will be my first video on the channel. Today I'm just going to go over Ethan, one of the newer Espers in Dislyte. He's a support. He's cracked. Let's just be straight up. He's cracked. If I had the bans to run as many summons as I could to try and get him, I would, because this character is ridiculous. He gives insane buffs and an insane debuff to the enemies. It's just there's nothing like him currently in the meta, I would say, in Dislyte right now. Even if you're talking PvP wise, some of the stuff I'll get into here in a second, it's just insane. You can't really compete with a lot of the stuff that he's doing. So I'll go through each of his abilities. His first ability, just your typical damage one target. Unless they're afflicted with Panic Gaze, which is his specific debuff that he can afflict to enemies. And essentially what it does is, if he puts it on you, and if you cast any of your basic abilities, as soon as you do that, you'll remove his other buff that he can add to allies, which I'll get into. But the main takeaway is, the carry will immediately take 20% true damage of their max HP. And then for bosses, it's only 5%, so it's much smaller on bosses. But even that, if you can get this to a low enough cooldown, and you can just spam this, I mean, that's just free. Like, 5%, 5%, if you can get Panic Gaze on him. Now, like I said, his first ability doesn't afflict him with Panic Gaze, but it's just a normal damage, and then it detracts a little bit of their AP, right? But his second ability, that's where you actually get into afflicting Panic Gaze. Now this will hit all enemies 3 times, and then do 25% of his attack for each of those hits, and then it also has a 40% chance of inflicting defense down, which, hey, we'd love to see it, more defense down, right? Now, Panic Gaze, like I said earlier, this is where you're going to actually be inflicting it. Now, I'm not sure if each hit has a chance of inflicting it, or if it's just like a overall, like, once he casts this, you are confirmed getting hit with Panic Gaze. That's how it reads, so I'm going to assume it's most likely like that. So like I said, the basic abilities, if they cast, you immediately 20% of your max HP, which is insane, because it's not. If it was current HP, I could see it being a little weaker. But this is, I mean, if you're going up against those Hades tanks, you just eat that 20%. Thanks, Hades. We take those. It's much easier to get rid of units like that in PvP. And then if they don't use any of their basic abilities, then it'll remove the debuff from everyone on the other team, which, you might immediately think, man, that's not really that good. But all of their abilities go extra turn on cooldown. So that's also the really good part, because there's not too many people that actually will speed up, the cooldowns on, say you're playing against someone in PvP. I mean, there's usually you can use like the relics, I don't remember the name, but like kind of like the stopwatch relic, to kind of give yourself a cooldown. But for the most part, there's not too many units that can deal with something like that. And since only, I think the initial Panic Gaze infliction might be able to be resisted, once it's on them, you're either taking the cooldown or you're taking the HP cut. I mean, either way you slice it, it's just an L for them, an L. And then the ultimate, this is kind of what I'll get into, like I was saying about the buff. This is the place where Magic Tune actually gets added onto your team. Now, Magic Tune will increase your critical rate and critical damage by 20%, and reduces the chance of taking critical hits by 20%, and you just get a flat 20 speed, which is ridiculous. Because you can just, 6 turns, sure, but if you, bring someone like Gaia, to give them that extra turn, put things off cooldown, you can be spinning this, all the time. And especially, once I get into the resonance with this guy and some of the ascension stuff, this character is nuts, especially if you can pull multiple of him. I mean, you're just people that are going to be trying to, you know, speed up, or even some of the bosses, you know, that if you can stop them from doing it, if you can't, or if you can't, I should say, if you can't stop them from boosting their AP, he'll just snatch it with some of his ascension stuff. So since I'm talking about that, we might as well get into that. So this resonance, the first one, that's okay. The AP reduction changed to 30% instead of 20. That's, I mean, 10% increase, you know, we take those, right? Now this is the other good part. Now you get Magic Tune immediately as soon as you start. You don't even have to use your ultimate anymore. Everyone gets Magic Tune, so you immediately get that crit and damage boost. You know, if you're already going first, which you probably should be if you're trying to run someone like this, you got some speed builds going, you got Dahlia going, you got everybody, you're going to be hitting like a truck at the beginning of the battle. Third, you know, the generic plus 15% to everything. That's okay, we take those. Damage taken, minus 20%. I mean, we'll take it. Straight just damage reduction. We'll take those. And then another flat increase. But this is the nonsense. So normally, his ascension, you can't see it up here, but I'll put it on screen. Off to the right over there. His normal ascension makes it so whenever enemies boost their AP, he'll take 50% of it, right? Which that's already nuts, because then now you're getting more turns, you're being able to spam Magic Tune, you can do all kind of stuff, right? But this now, instead of, if you get him to Resonance 6, which, you know, open the wallet, I suppose, right? Open the wallet. But if you can get him to Resonance 6, everyone on your team gets that 50% of AP that he takes, like from his normal ascension. So you got people, you know, somebody's going first, right, in PvP, or even some bosses, you know, they're AP boosting, speed up, you know, AP manipulation, whatever. Every time they're doing that, you're just, thanks, 50%, 50%, 50%, 50%, I'll be taking that. So now, you know, those people that might have been, you know, multiple, you know, Espers or characters ahead of you, maybe they'll have one or two, but if you flat speed, just outbeat them, you know, you got your Osiris leader, and then maybe you got Dahlia already going, maybe at least you got her 200 speed-ish, you could probably catch back up, even if they initially go first with this, because you're just stealing that 50% every single time. Now, it's, you know, obviously it's not the whole thing, but still, even that by itself is insane. And really, like, you don't even really care, like, I feel like how much damage, you know, Ethan himself does, right? You just want him to stay alive enough so you can give them the constant HP cut, you can constantly keep giving out defense down potentially, or you could constantly keep giving out the Magic Tune. So really, I would rock, let's see what, you know, people say. So they have crit damage and crit rate on here. Now, personally, I think with him, you don't really care, I think, about him himself doing the crit damage. Now, if we go back to it, he does a decent bit, you know, the 90%, right? But I feel like for him, honestly, I think it would be better to rock the cooldown. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I can pull those up real quick. The specific cooldown relics. Let's see, cooldown. Scroll through my ancient relics, okay. The ocean set, that's what it's called. Something like this. If that's what you really need to run, because then you're just spamming Panic Gaze, you're spamming Magic Tune, everything over and over again, and you just keep him as another buffer. You know, you got Dahlia, you got him, you know, maybe you even want to use his captain ability, right? I don't think it's like too hot. I think maybe you want to go for the flat damage increase over just the critical rate increase. But I could see, you know, in some comps, you know, if maybe you got Mbala, you have Ophelia, you know, something like that, it might work. But I think his captain ability, you're probably going to have somebody else as your captain. But I think going with the ocean set and going with maybe even just HP, perhaps, just to keep him alive long enough to just keep spamming his abilities off cooldown. I mean, it's it's going to be almost impossible to deal with, because like I said, once it's already on him, you can't dispel it, so it'll just HP cut or eat that cooldown. So for that, I think that's about all that I kind of wanted to bring up for Ethan. Like I said, thank you guys for watching. This is my first video on the channel, so let me know what you guys think. Let me know what I can change. Let me know how it sounds. I kind of did some tests for my mic and stuff earlier, so it seemed to sound all right. But let me know in the comments how it sounds, and also what anything else you guys would like to see. I plan on uploading another video, kind of going through the new club bosses. I'll show them real quick in Sentinel Hut, these different projections, because some of the rewards you can get from this can be pretty good, but it's you know, in straight up gacha fashion, it is RNG, you know, of course. But I'll get into that in another video. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.